For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Thabi Madiba, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss the constraints and choices of Ramaphosa's presidency. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Why do you say that Sir Ramaphosa's presidency was taken care of in preparing almost every gesture and presentation that Ramaphosa has made?
Now, I'm referring to the beginning, and I wasn't saying that that's the only thing. I just that the gestures is all that it was. But there was almost a choreographed way in which he went around walking, greeting people, showing that he's different, that he's not aloof, that he's close to the people. All of these things were carefully prepared. But there's also issues of substance that were carefully prepared. Like even before he became president, I said there were things that he did in regard to state-owned entities, things that have happened with the Hawks and the NPA, which seem to indicate not necessarily that he directly ordered them, but that they are aware that there is a new sheriff in town.
Can we say that Sir Ramaphosa's presidency had an influence on law enforcement agencies? I'm looking at the clampdown of Gupta businesses and the warrants of arrest of the two Gupta brothers.
Yes, no, I do believe that civil servants always say, I serve the government of the day, and that I'm a professional and all that sort of thing. Now, they were extremely unprofessional, and I think they read it that Ramaphosa is more professional or very professional, and consequently it has had an influence on what they've done, and they wouldn't have done a lot of these things until now. But it's uneven. We know that the Gupta brothers and Duduzane Zuma were suspects, yet they were allowed to leave the country. Now, there's not an extradition agreement with Dubai, if they're in Dubai, but there are treaties that the two countries have signed about corrupt activities which oblige both countries to extradite people. However, it may take a long time for that, and the fact that this has happened indicates that the cleanup is not complete by any means.
And lastly, do you think former President Jacob Zuma's announcement on free higher education can affect Sir Ramaphosa's presidency at a later stage?
Well, it's not affected him only at a later stage. It's affected the budget, because when you make an announcement like that, which entails 57 billion over the next 3 years, which is higher than the country's debt, well, immediately the crisis of the budget is worsened. Already when the medium-term budget was done, I think it was September, one was very well aware of the fact that the debt to GDP ratio in South Africa is very high. It's very, very high. It's increased a great deal since 2008 and during the 9 years of Zuma's incumbency. And that unprepared, unplanned offer of free education to, I think it's people below 350,000 per annum earning, has constrained whatever ministers of finance may want to do with the budget. And already we've seen VAT has been increased and money has been withdrawn from government, and this money is going to affect the functioning of cities and probably primarily the poor, who depend on some of the infrastructure, school infrastructure, community development and so forth. So definitely the debt in general is substantially related to the actions of Zuma's presidency by Zuma himself and others involved in pillage and other malgovernance. But this thing has definitely created a situation where planning to deal with that has had an extra knock on the head of the government and the taxpayer.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the constraints and choices of Ramaphosa's presidency.